Speaker Mike Johnson is looking to pass a reconciliation package through Congress by April. Joining us now on the GOP game plan and President-elect Trump's agenda is House Republican Policy Committee Chair Kevin Hearn. And Congressman, it's good to, Chairman Hearn, it's good to see you. Will it be one or two, do you think, at this point? What's your best guess?
Well, certainly what's the issue is today, we've been given the gift of the opportunity to be in this place to pass a reconciliation bill and do things like extend the tax cuts, secure the southern border, and get our energy dominance back to where it was 4 years ago. But what we've not been given is the gift of time. We have to get these tax cuts extended by the end of the year, where every single American, every single business will see a rise in cost as money comes flowing back to Washington, D.C. And so if you look at that, the fastest way to get that done in the House is one bill, as President Trump says, one big, beautiful bill, so that we can get everybody's interests taken care of as we move forward.
It would include a debt limit increase, as well as $2.5 trillion in net cuts to spending. Is that possible?
We believe so. We actually have more spending cuts lined up than that. That seems to be kind of the middle of the road, or maybe even on the low end. It ranges from $2 to $5 trillion. Some of that's recension. Some of that is you're looking at releasing, lands to be drilled on, permitting processes that are really important. And so those are all things that are really impactful. A lot of the money that you saw the Biden administration, or seeing the Biden administration spend on illegal immigration with President Trump's border policies, that would slow down or even stop. So a lot of spending cuts that we could pull in to help offset some of the cost of extending the tax cuts.
Will we go through the same process where someone decides on what is budget reconciliation? I remember the Democrats love this, being able to, and used it a lot recently. Someone has to decide what can go in there, right?
They do. The budget reconciliation process is really was part of the 1974 Budget Control Act. It was kind of a fail-safe if you couldn't come through with a budget and the authorization and appropriations necessary to hit the budget window of September 30th each year. And so they gave another avenue, but it requires very narrow language. It has to be impactful to the budget. That's a Senate process so that you don't have to have the 60-vote rule and the filibuster. So all the language, the parliamentarian in the Senate will control what actually gets into the reconciliation framework. And then the House, Ways and Means, which I sit on, Tax Policy Subcommittee, which I sit on, will be working to make sure that the tax cuts fit into that reconciliation process, along with Energy and Commerce and some 10 other committees.
How's the border? Can you guarantee the parliamentarian will let all the border security provisions in there as well?
Well, not all, because we looked at H.R. 2 that the House passed back in March of 23 overwhelmingly, and again, in a very narrow margin then. We had about a 3-vote margin. Today we have about 2-vote margin. So we're getting kind of accustomed to working with these 99% approval ratings, if you will, to get a bill passed. But there are things in there that are not impactful to the budget. They're more policy. You cannot pass policy in a budget reconciliation process. So we have to strip out some of those ideas that were in there, those bills that passed that we sent to the Senate, and make sure that we get only things in there that will have a budget impact.
So then if it was 2 bills, some of those things would be in the second bill, and then you'd need 60? How would you do that? You can't do that. You can't get 60.
Well, if you had a second reconciliation bill, it might be something that you might have look at something that you didn't get into the first bill, that you could find a different way to present it to the parliamentarian that they might accept it. But that's why it's so important to get one bill done early and start working on that, try to get it done by Memorial Day. This is a lot of work. As I said at the opening, we're not given the gift of time because all of these tax cuts expire on 12/31 of this year, and every single American, every single small business in America will see a major tax increase if we don't get it done. So it's important. This should be a bipartisan process. The Democrats should not want the American people to have tax increases. Yeah. So we're working hard, and we'll see what happens.
Where will corporate rates go? Will there be? Is there a stomach for that to go to 2015 on domestic companies? Is that even possible to do that?
I'm sorry I didn't get all of that question.
Is that
Are you
even
asking if the
possible
corporate rate would be?
to go from 21 to 15 on the corporate tax rate just for domestic producers, I guess domestic manufacturing. Is that going to be in there?
We'll have to look at it. That's certainly additional campaign conversations that the president had, just like no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security. Those are things we're going to have to figure out how, if they can actually fit in. And we will do that as we get the legislation moving forward to go into the reconciliation package and see what all fits in there and how we score it. CBO, Joint Committee on Taxation, and others look at those. And so those are really important as we move forward. And so we'll work feverishly and passionately to try to do as much as we possibly can President Trump's campaign promises.
Congressman, just in terms of pay-fors, do you know if there's any agreement or areas where you think you can get agreement on some pay-fors to make up for some of the givebacks and taxes? Like, how do we do it? How do we do that in a balanced fashion?
Well, we saw some of this in H.R. 1 last year. Again, the Republican House passed, which was our #1 priority, which was energy dominance, something that President Trump worked on. We heard President Trump across all the campaign trails that he went to across America, talking about the way we were going to pay and fix our way out of this going forward is using our minerals under our feet, oil and gas and the other mining opportunities that we have. And so looking at how we can release those, right now we're very dependent on the Congo for cobalt and China for processing that cobalt and other rare minerals. And so if we don't use our balance sheet in the United States, we're going to be continuously dependent on China, which is not a good place to be when you have two superpowers competing for world dominance.